What's up everyone, Chef Dave back with another cooking video. And today, as the weather starts to turn cold and fall-like finally, I mean, not that I don't miss summer, but it is coming of the season, if you will. It's starting to feel like it's supposed to. This is when you start thinking more about kind of braises and comfort foods and that sort of thing. At least I do anyway. So today we're going to talk about something fun, quick, and pretty easy overall, which is spaetzle. I love spaetzle. I love it in many different forms, as far as either just cooked and buttered, or cooked, cooled, and then sauteed, like get it crispy. It's just really fun and delicious. You know, is really what spaetzle is to me. You can season it any kind of way you want, with herbs and spices and everything. Today I'm going to do a version that is pretty simple, but it does utilize some sourdough starter. I will put kind of a straightforward recipe in the description below as well, so just in case you don't have sourdough starter, you can make it anyway. It's the exact same process. It's just literally stirring, so it really only takes about 5 minutes to mix together the dough, almost faster than it takes to boil the water that you need to cook it in, which is kind of crazy. We're going to do a sourdough version. It's just a good way to add a bunch of flavor with your sourdough discard. I love that kind of sour bread flavor, and the things you usually serve spaetzle with go very well, you know, with a little bit of sourness to it. So we're really adding this as flavor. Although I do like to use active starter when I do this, just because it does sometimes give it a little bit of lightness, but not needed at all. Right? So let's get into it. So very simply for this recipe, again, I'll put the recipe in the description below, but we've got 250 grams of whole wheat discard starter that I use, 250 grams of all-purpose flour, 4 eggs, 150 grams of milk, 10 grams of salt, and 3 grams, in this case, I'm using a little bit of just pumpkin spice, kind of fall spices. You can use nutmeg or cinnamon. All are pretty traditional in use. And basically all we're doing is mixing all this together, letting it sit for about 15 minutes or so. I like to let it sit anyway so that it hydrates properly. So let's get to mixing. Very, very simply, we're going to put our ingredients in the bowl here. All the ingredients, okay? There's not really oh, you got to do the wet and the dry separate or whatever. None of that. In with our starter. And then we mix. What you're looking for is just kind of like a tight batter. You don't want it too loose. So you might have to adjust it slightly, just depending on your sourdough starter and how thick it is. A little bit of flour, a little bit of milk to make the adjustment is all you really need. You don't want to work it to death, but you want to give it a good mix. That's what you're looking for. You see that kind of elasticity there? That's what you're looking for, because you want enough, you want it to be set enough to kind of hold a shape, but fluid enough to pass through when you're making it. All right, there we go. Now we're going to let this sit for 10 to 15 minutes, just as your water's boiling. Right, while we're waiting for our water to boil, we're going to put a little bit of olive oil. You can do a little butter instead if that's what you want to do. I'm fine either way. Put a good amount, a decent amount of olive oil in there. Same with butter. If you were doing butter, you probably do about 3-4 tablespoons. And again, this is the catch-all, so that where you're going to put them once they're done cooking. All right, so our water's boiling. We got our pan set up. We got our batter here. I'm going to try doing it in this, which is just like a rack. You can do this in a colander, you know, with holes in it. You can also buy a specific spaetzle maker off of Amazon that kind of hooks on to the sides of your pot. I don't love one-dimensional tools, so I like trying to utilize the things I have, and I think this will do just fine. This is actually my first time attempting it on this, so we're going to see how it goes. So you're going to take a portion of the batter, not too much. We're going to put it on, let it kind of fall a little bit, and then give it a push. Okay? Same thing. Okay? Give it a push, give it a push, and it should kind of fall in kind of streaks, if you will. You don't want to do, because this is pretty holy, obviously, like not like a colander is. You don't want to do it in, big quantities, because it will probably, it will kind of clump up a little bit more than you want it to. So since this is all holes instead of like a colander, just do a little bit, boom, and kind of try to change your direction or the area that you do. This way everything falls, and then you don't have to worry about it sticking as one giant mass. Okay, once we did that little bit there, the water stops boiling. You don't want the water to completely stop boiling, or you want it to recover quickly, I should say. So you do a portion, let it come back up, and then we're going to give it a stir. We're going to put this on top of our bowl here. And that, you see that? That's coming back up to a boil. Looks really good. Look at that. Nice big dumplings. This is actually, I like this a lot. This size is great. But be careful. This is starch, so it will overflow. So you want to be careful with that. But once they've been boiling for about a minute or so, they're done. They're pretty much done. So you just want to give them a shake, give them a stir, let them just continue to boil. So it doesn't boil over, you can drop the temp for a second. Grab your strainer. Get as much of the water out as you can. Okay, it's okay if it has a little bit. And then just drop it right into the oil bath there. These look absolutely perfect. I love that. Little irregular kind of tadpoles, if you will. Okay, once you have it out, put your water back up. It's going to come to a boil. And you're going to put this right back on. And you're going to do the next round. With these, you want to give a shake to, just to cover them in a little bit of oil. And that's it. You're going to let them cool like that. Or you can serve them right from here. And there you have it. And there you have it. How to make Spaetzle. Super easy. 2 tips I would make sure that you're aware of. One is they do absorb quite a bit of water. Okay. So the pot you're cooking in, you want it to be enough water, right? So I was only making a little bit, so this pot is fine. If I was making more, I'd probably want a little bit bigger pot. Still something that you can fit your colander or whatever you're using on top, but you want to make sure there's enough water there. And secondly, you want to season your water, but you do not want, it should not be like the ocean is, not blanching vegetables. It should be just seasoned. There's a good amount of salt in the actual recipe, so you don't want to put too much salt in your water so that it's salty in the end. But that's it. So for me, I like to let them rest now. Unless I'm going to eat them right away, I throw them in the fridge with, toss in that little bit of olive oil. And then when I'm ready to use them, I saute them up. Some people will shock them. In a restaurant, if you're making a lot of times you'll shock them, which kind of washes the outside starch off a little bit and makes them less kind of likely to stick together, which is nice. You kind of double dip, you shock, and then put a little olive oil on them. I don't think you have to do that for the home use, but if you're making a lot, if you're having a get-together, that's something you can do as well. Thanks for joining me, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this recipe. If you did, let me know in the comments section, or let me know if you have your own personal recipe that you'd love to share. I'd love to hear it. I'm Chef Dave, and we'll see you on the next one.